Heyo, Duckies and Dice Fiends. Welcome to Cataclysm Presents, the Table Talk Show. We're a little bit late today. We had some tech issues. David, one of the Davids, is totally fine and not stressed. So, we are all good. So, hello, I am Kay. I am one of your co-hosts. You can find me. Hey, Moxie, welcome on in, Mallory. You can find me here streaming on Thursdays. I'm going to be playing Ooblets on Thursday because they gave me a code for their Steam launch, and it's Happy and Farming and Dancing with Farm Friends. David, are you sticking to Darkest Dungeon 2 for the spooky season?
Yes, I think this next episode will be all Darkest Dungeon because I'm a little focused.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
And yes, so I am one of your co-hosts, Kay Purcell. I'm here with the Battle of the Davids, David and David. So, David Lee, who the heck is you and what the heck is we doing here?
Hi, I am David Lee, aka Full Rubber Ducky, and one half of the reverse Oreo that we are working with today. And welcome to the Chaotic Wholesome Presents USB Failure Talk Show, where every week we talk about TTRPG stuff, how to be a better player, how to be a better GM, how to be a better person, all with an emphasis on inclusion and intersectionality, interconnectivity. I probably hit all the right words. I haven't fumbled that bag in a quite long time, where everybody can have a good time.
And David streams on Fridays. I stream on Thursdays. I'm usually a lot of places. I'm not streaming a lot for the next couple weeks. A new episode of the Emergency Power Podcast is coming out on Wednesday, and you can find me as Ponatia, the Asheru, the slug person. We talk about not having bones. It's pretty great. But you are not here to see our faces. You maybe are here a little bit to see our faces, but you're mostly here to see the guest face, and I don't know where on this call he is on David's layout. So, David Tilstra, who the heck is you? What does you do? And what you do is the reason we has you here. So, take it away.
That was very impressive. Hello, everybody. My name is David Tilstra. Normally, I am the dungeon master over at From Afar Podcast. We are a bi-weekly D&D actual play. We've restarted our current season to finish it, and now we're sort of taking another little break because holidays and Christmas and stuff. But normally that's pretty much like the main thing. You can find me everywhere at David Tilstra. We do a lot of streams. I do a lot of guest appearances on different TTRPG shows. We got some fun stuff in the works, working with some very fun folks for some big shows coming up. And that's pretty much it. I'm just excited to be here with two of my favoritist people in the world, talking about some of my favoritist things in the world.
This is technically a redo because we had Tilstra on at the height of my tech gremlin issues problems, and we were not going to not give the Tilstra episode to the world. So
right.
We had to take valuable time out of his schedule and have him back. Also, Gilmore is being oh, never mind, he's going to sleep.
Gilmore is gone.
Gil gone. So thank you for coming back,
of course,
David, and talking to us again.
It's an absolute honor.
But yes, so I am part of a bi-weekly podcast that took a break because we wrapped up our season and our GM's like,
We do that every once in a while.
Yeah. We are emergency power. We do the power packs. So we are running the Skittermander Saga, which is the free TTRPG day modules that Izo puts out. So we did a bunch of those, and we're kind of filling the space with that. We had the opportunity to do that, but last time we spoke, From Afar was off and coming back at some point. But now
we're back. We're doing it. Things have advanced.
So tell us about the advancement of From Afar Podcast. For those in the chat who maybe don't know, who are maybe new here.
Yeah. So let's see. Probably getting close to a year ago now. One of our main cast members, Christian, had to take some time off for mental health reasons, and there was just a lot going on in his life, and he was like, I still want to do this, but we just need to take a step back. So we did that, filled the space with a few other things. We did a show with B Zelda. We did a show with the folks over at Good Better Quest. Currently, we're still sort of on the tail end of that, and I'm doing a show with Candace the Magnificent and Amber the Space Jammer, who's in chat. Very excited. I know we were supposed to record last night, but then just some tech issues came up and we had to move it. But it's
we don't know anything.
Yeah, no clue what that's like.
Never happens.
Honestly, I feel like it's sort of like a rite of passage. Not a rite of passage, just like it's just like an expectation sometimes in this space of like scheduling issues and tech issues. Right. What's up, Stag? How you doing?
I was watching our friend Pan was on a Humblewood stream, and it was like beautiful overlay, beautiful production, and like they're like some tech issues. We're starting late. They started, everything was great, and then someone like dropped from the call, and of course that broke the overlay and everything. And they're like, "We're so sorry. Hold on." And I'm like, "Is it really a TTRPG AP if there isn't a tech issue? Because
there's got to be some tech issues.
There's got to be. Hey,
up until what up? Up until like last week, actually, I got some new audio stuff in my stream setup, and I had it all set up perfectly, and then I got this new audio stuff, and now like whenever I went live and switched scenes, like 4 of my mics turned off, and then other mics in other rooms turned on, and there was all sorts of stuff going on. So I finally last Friday just got all that figured out. So tech issues. I feel bad because I've been there, and it's always just like, oh gosh, this is so embarrassing and frustrating for like the audience and cast members. But like, as someone who's been on both sides of it, it's like, nah, take your time, do your thing. It makes sense.
I have to say, the number of kind people in the TTRPG space because we were doing a charity game run by Candace the Magnificent, Flabbergasted, and my computer was having none of it. And in the middle of it, like, we realized, the tech issues were still happening. And I'm like, we need to switch over to David's computer. Hold on. And I'm like, we're switching it over as fast as we can. But of course, time is money. It's burning. We've got 7 people on the call. And they're like, no, you're handling this really well. This is fascinating to watch, seeing you two walk through. It's really cool. And I'm like, you all are so nice. Thank you. I'm so sorry. But yes, congrats on vanquishing the tech demons. May they not return.
Same to you. Put
and that now, salt ring down.
And don't invite any vampires past the threshold. Can't have that. But yeah, so Christian is now back and he's feeling better. So we were able to finish our current arc, which we have recorded, and we're taking a little bit of extra time editing it right now. So that's why I was like, we're sort of on a little hiatus right now because it's been like a week and a half, like late, but like it's the finale. There's like this big fight with this lich and all sorts of dream whales and backstory things are happening all over the place. So let's just take a second and we're gonna get this one and do it right. So but yeah, we're back and we're gonna start hitting that harder. We're gonna probably do a little bit of restructuring just on our back end, just because I after the whole thing with Christian, I just sort of like, I was feeling a little bit down. I was like, I understand why he's taking time off, and like, it's very understandable. I'm never gonna blame him for that. But then I was like, oh, maybe everyone, like, maybe the arch on this has fallen. Maybe like the show, maybe it's just time to like kind of let it fall apart. But I sat down with all the rest of the crew, and they're like, no, wait, what are you talking about? Like, we're in this, we're ready to go. So I think we're gonna try to find a way to do more like strategic stuff on the back end to make, like, probably basically just record a bunch more episodes at once and then just release them like 6-7 months after we record them. So yeah, because I always feel bad when people, like, I was just in the Discord earlier today, there's people who are still like, oh my gosh, we just listened to that last episode, it was so much fun. I was like, oh, that was like 6 months ago.
That's the hardest part about a podcast is like, I can't talk about it, and then they do talk about it and you're like, oh yeah. Also, let me just say, it is World Mental Health Day, so thank both you and Christian for being open about mental health, because it is very important. And like, TTRPGs are an awesome way to deal with insecurities, to explore yourself, and to I use it to manage some of my impulses going on in there. But also, like, just a reminder, it's not a replacement for therapy, and don't like trauma dump on your TTRPG mates. You know, things to keep in mind on Mental Health Day.
Absolutely.
And since it is World Mental Health Day, I would like to point out something that people kind of gloss over. There aren't enough therapists for all the people. Most people you talk to are not in therapy, especially if they want to be. So one, like if you're trying to get into therapy and you're having a hard time, be patient. It's a process. Two, finding the right therapist is like finding the right like antidepressant or finding the right treatment for something that's really complex. It's not one size fits all. It's not like, oh, I have a therapist, then everything, like it may not be the right therapist for you. If I had a therapist tomorrow, they would have to understand like video game dopamine processing and lurking in from afar podcast Twitch streams in order to give me the appropriate therapy, and not everybody has a grip on that. So like everybody on their mental health journey, the most important thing is be patient with yourself and persevere.
I had a therapist that I liked her and she liked working with me, but we were like many months into therapy before we realized that we had very different goals for me. What she wanted was not what I wanted to do professional. And I'm like, we can't. Also, and I've said this before to David. And again, I'm David's right. There is something to be said for having a therapist who understands the video games, the TTRPGs. I'm also like, I could never go to a therapist who understands TTRPGs, because they'd be like, and what's your new character? And they're, well, okay. What are you writing? Stop writing. No. This isn't me. This is...
And at the very least, maybe they're just taking your character ideas to do on their own. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, if a therapist can't answer the question, what are you writing, then we're not going to work. Yeah. Because they love to scribble. And I understand that it's part of their like professional process, but what are you writing though?
Yeah. Candace says, finding a black therapist is nearly impossible. I found a therapist that was recommended because I moved across the country, and it was like, well, you're probably not the right therapist for me, and I'm moving across the country. Had a recommendation to a therapist that she knew because she used to work on the East Coast, and I'm like, this is great. And they're like, yeah, we're taking new patients, but not new patients with insurance. So you can pay out of pocket or you could go on a wait list. It's nearly 3 years on the wait list, y'all. Finding a therapist is not easy.
Not at all, no. But that's why we all play TTRPGs.
Exactly. There is a magical space of therapy and TTRPG. Like when you got both of those going on.
It's feeling real centered right now.
Mallory, I don't know how I would feel with my therapist who loves D&D asking me if they could watch me in a show. I feel like that there's
that would be.
There's certain vulnerabilities that I am very aware, like in retrospect, I'm like, yeah, that was me working out a thing, which I didn't really, no, my therapist cannot see that.
Yeah. Man, that would be such a wild, like, first of all, wild therapy session, but like, just a wild turn on any like stream or any game where it's like, I'm playing this, I'm relaxed, I'm having a good time, I'm doing stuff with my friends, but also you just hear that little scribbling in the background. Like, what are you writing down? What are you writing down? Only the DM can do that. Or
you walk into your therapy, that week, and it's like, so character name.
Just cease to exist.
Ooh-wee.
The meme of poop vanish. Yeah, that would be me. Like I don't know how I can just contort myself into this couch, but I'm gone now. It is now a portal to another realm.
There was a company, I forget their names. I need to reach out to them again. You actually might know, both of you might know they're like specifically a TTRPG company that are like is it Take This? Take
This is one of.
There's one. I think it was like 3 letters, like like some 3-letter acronym that was something, but it was like a bunch of therapists were the GMs, and it was like specifically designed for like therapy specific TTRPG stuff.
I don't know the name, but I know what you're talking about. Take This is not it. Take This is like mental health focused TTRPG and like fundraising for that stuff. But ooh, tell me why you're so intent on playing the lawful evil Goliath.
I don't know. I just need to get these thoughts and feelings out of my system.
Look, I will not talk to my therapist about my Little Pony TTRPG, David. I will not do it. I will not.
I've wanted to play that for a very long time. To be fully honest, it
Noted.
looks so much fun. It looks like yo. Let me know. I will be there in an instant.
Candace got to play it. I played it with Candace, Urban Bohemian, Pan, DM Jazzy Hands.
Oh, that's what a crew. Oh my goodness.
So much fun.
That's amazing.
So much fun. Yes, all of the tiefling. And I am half the tieflings in the chat today. I was just showing off my horns for my new tiefling before we started.
They look really nice.
They're foam. They're great. They
look amazing.
Thank you. What do you mean they were all sexy? Yes, I think you may know, Tilstra. Someone gifted me the limited edition. It's so good, and it
looks great.
Tilstra, I need you to understand.
I'm here to understand. Let me know.
I don't have a banana for scale, so instead you get a Joy-Con.
Honestly,
that's a boy.
That's a thick boy, and that's also a good unit of measure right there. A Joy-Con.
Like, you have an understanding of what a Joy-Con. Because I'm like, it's a pin. Well, pins could be This is a almost 400 page. Like, this isn't like we're gonna play ponies. This is like we're going levels 1 to 20, and at level 20 you become Alicorn royalty.
Alicorn royalty, though. I was watching this a couple years ago now. My niece, I don't think she really watches My Little Pony anymore, but it got to a point where she was like 4 or 5 or something, and we were watching, and she started getting tired of watching, so she went off and did something else. I just kept watching for like the rest of the day. I just watched My Little Pony like for an entire like Christmas break, and she's like, "T.O. David, what are you doing?" I was like, "Well, it's not important. This show is amazing." So good.
Yeah, I think David was there. One of our mutual friends loves Star Trek. And I'm like, Jared, I need you to watch one episode of My Little Pony, and you will understand why. And so we were very intoxicated for his birthday at my place. We went and got like fried mochi ice cream and came back, and I'm like, okay, we are watching this. And I put on the episode with Discord. Right, and we start watching, and he's like, "This is an encounter at Farpoint Station," and I'm like,
See, you're intoxicated, had fried mochi, and we're watching My Little Pony. That literally, like, you can't get better than that. That's amazing. But no, if y'all are playing or running a game, let me know. I would absolutely love to learn. It's like its own system, right?
It uses the Essence system, which is what they did. Power Rangers and
there's a Power Ranger TTR. Of course there is.
And Xander plays the Pink Ranger in the AP of it.
Sounds good. Sounds perfect. Sounds match made in heaven.
It's like, yes, this is the only way it can be. So yeah, it is every time. So the Renegade games, which puts them out, they heavily modify the system every time. So it's very specific to each setting. But it's the Essence system because all its skills, the skills are smarts, speed, strength, social, and but they're all S's. That's the Essence.
There it is. I love it. Essences. Yeah.
And G.I. Joe. Yes. Thank you, Candace.
G.I. Joe. Oh man. Isn't there a Ninja Turtles one too?
Isn't there what?
Ninja Turtles.
I don't think it's. I believe
maybe
there is
not
one, but I
Essence.
don't think it's by them.
Yeah. And then the Zelda one that I'm sorry.
They do have a you can play. They do have crossovers for My Little Pony and Transformers. So your ponies and your Transformers can team up.
Of course they can. Yeah, I love this the creativity that exists in the idea of TTRPGs is so, like, systems alone. Like, just think of, we've talked about like 3 or 4 systems already, and it's just like, it's just so much fun. And then, like, you don't even need to talk about like the characters and the games and stuff, because that of course is like, some of these stories I've heard you all tell, some of the stories that people in chat I've heard you all tell. It is literally, I'm just like, what? I've never thought of that. It's amazing. I mean, I know we've talked about this before, but the Cookie Caper Christmas one shot we did.
Oh, yeah.
Just
That was
like
so much fun.
the setting would have been like amazing on its own. I mean, it was, and then like just all the extra layers of detail and like puns and jokes and just like real life stuff you threw into it. It was like, yeah, it's so good. So
Why
good.
do something when you can overdo it?
That's very good. It's very good, actually. Love it. Absolutely love it.
But yeah, and that's, and I do tend to get a little bit carried away with our Christmas ones. David and I we're already starting to talk about Christmas this year. Also for anyone who likes, this is not a solid system yet, but Dave and I are going to start reaching out to people soon to play test a system that we're putting together. We got a little bit more work to do before then, but if you want to play test something weird, it'll be play test for a thing that we'll hopefully be streaming in the new year. But
which means you should pop onto our Discord, because that is where the announcements will happen first before we reach out to a larger audience. Also, I typed in Zelda TTRPG into the browser that I'm using, and it's like, here's a list of 7, and the art, it's like, if you like Zelda, here's, and so many people are like strongly inspired by like the 8-bit original Legend of Zelda, and not just like the like art on screen in the game, but like the art from the instruction book, which is really cool. Like before I was full rubber ducky, I had a little like clip or a little like image of Link sipping a potion, and that was like the avatar image I had for everything.
Link right there. Where's all my Zelda shit?
My little guy.
Got nothing within arm's reach. I'm the worst. There was didn't Critical Role just do a Legends? Was that its own system, or was that just sort of
that was,
because I've heard that was really good.
It was a hack of another system. I'm trying to remember which system it was that they used. It's more of a powered, it's not a D20 system. I think it was more of a powered by the
like a Fate system.
Let me double check though. But before we get too far off, because I do want to bring this back to the topic, which is, yes, David and I do tend to get a little bit carried away with world building for one shots and beyond, but as a person running a podcast who just had everything culminate in dealing with a lich, I'm sure you know all about that.
Yeah. Liches are no fun. I mean, they're very fun for me, not for my players.
David knows those feels.
They're very, very, very fun. Yeah, no, we I think I mentioned this a little. I can't remember if this was before we went live or not. But yeah, we just got to sort of so there's going to be 7-ish like main arcs for the From Afar story. We just got to we haven't released the episode yet, but we just finished the 4th. So we're just kind of crossing over that halfway point, and things are starting to culminate, and all the seeds have been laying down over the past 4 years are starting to grow into little trees. It's very, very fun. But no, I'm excited. Oh, what's up, Patch? How you doing? I just saw Patch was in chat. I'm excited. I'm excited to get back into it. I feel like now, From Afar, I feel like we started off really strong, and I feel like we started off really strong, and we also started off not really expecting or knowing what was going to happen with like the community and with the story and everything, because like before we started From Afar back in 2018, 17, something like that. Around that
Anything
time.
before the pandemic is a flat circle. Like just
It was
just
literally
very timey-wimey, very Jeremy Bearimy.
Yes.
a very Jeremy Bearimy.
Yes, we've all seen the time knife.
Right.
In the time knife before the COVID times, when we started the show, I literally did not know that the TTRPG community was even a thing. Like I'd played D&D like 2 or 3 times before we did our show, and I'd always heard about it, and I'd always like known like, oh, there's a group of people that play this. They just must never communicate or interact with or talk to each other, because that's just the way I thought it was. And then once we started getting into the community, it was just such a lovely like icing on top of the cake of being like, oh, there's this actual like viciously active community in this space, and there's a lot of amazing folks. So like, I feel like I started off with it very kind of small in my mind, like I had the whole kind of idea of it planned out, but I was like, okay, this is going to be just basically for me and the people on the show who are going to listen to it. And then we started getting a following, making friends, and the show kind of grew. The story of the show grew along with like the show itself. So I feel like we started off really strong, and I feel like one of the last seasons we just did was sort of a little bit too big for its britches, and there was just a few things that like happened that I was like, okay, and now I need to kind of dial it back. But I feel like now things have kind of like are starting to settle in a spot that is much more coherent, because I feel like we kind of lost the thread for a little while.
No worries. Your captions, Tilstra, are being a
Got
little
it.
boo. You just clicky the link again,
Of
please.
course,
And thank
of
you,
course.
Ribbonanza, for letting us know. Yeah, I feel like I joined Emergency Power Podcast later. I joined in their 3rd season, and they were like, we don't really like season 1 because our audio issues weren't great, and and it's like, this is what I say to so many people is like, yes, you can have beginner's luck. You can come out of the gate really strong, but in order to be good at something, you generally have to suck at it at least a little bit first.
Exactly.
And this is true for any kind of TTRPG. This is true for writers. This is true for photographers, like especially photographers. They would say you've got 10,000 bad photos in you. And the only way to get them out is to take those photos. The only way to get really good at a TTRPG thing is to do it. And the only way to get better at podcasting is to do it and listen back and go like, okay, I can edit that out. I cannot edit that out in the future, even though I can edit it out. Let's do this instead of that so that I don't have to edit it out.
There was definitely a lot of that when we first started out, and I feel like we've gotten, at least on the podcast side of things. Streaming is a whole different story. We mess up on streaming all the time. But I feel like
really a stream without a tech issue?
Exactly. I feel like I've gotten to the point now as sort of like I hate saying like the storyteller, because it's not just me, but as the DM from our podcast, I feel like I finally now am getting to the point with this story where I'm like, okay, I see what makes a good actual play, what makes a good podcast, what makes a fun session for myself and my players, and here's the way to mix all those things together for this show. And I feel like we're starting to get to that point. I feel like we lost it for a little bit. Like I said, there was a lot of real life things going on. We had new cast members, people moved, people got new jobs, people got fired. There was just a lot going on. So I think that was sort of reflected in the last like half of a season. But I feel like now we've gotten to the point where we're all very excited about it again and ready to like kind of just jump into it and hit it hard. So,
and
very excited.
David knows, like, especially with Godplane, I sat down and I'm like, okay, we want to have these certain things almost every episode. Because, we talk about, especially in longer form things, which Godplane was actually shorter. For a TTRPG, it was a shorter form. It was 8 episodes. So we had to be pretty snappy. But like in longer form ones, there is the love-hate relationship with the shopping episode. You either love the shopping episode or you hate it, both as a player and as an audience member. And, I've known one of the best GMs that I've played with, and I've been really fortunate to play with some really great GMs, is like, I am finally like 2 to 3 years into doing long form TTRPG campaigns, figuring out how to make the balance in my episodes. Because sometimes, I think everyone here knows, it is so easy for an episode to devolve into nothing but talking. And not like there, and let's be clear, y'all, there's a difference between plot talking and talking.
Oh yeah.
We had an episode of something that we're recording that we can't talk about yet, where the entire episode, all people did was talk, but it was, we just figured out the thread of the game. We just figured out how we're connected. We figured out what we're doing. We figured out all this stuff. And we got to the end and they're like, we're so sorry that we talked. And I'm like, this is the audiences are going to eat this up. Then there's like, so are you going to use that +1 dagger? Because if you're not, really, no, you're not. Okay.
Yeah.
And
that is your point. I'm sorry.
It circles back to like an important writing. So like writing advice is storytelling advice. So jot that down. But like the whole idea of showing, not telling, is there's a big difference between lore dumping with like me as a GM or Kay as a GM going, all right, and in the before time in the back rooms, jiggle, 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 pay attention, versus seeding stuff and then having that aha moment where different players as their characters puts together, and it's like, hey, that guy Nicholas, didn't you say he was sainted? Yeah, he was sainted. And there was this guy that's been spotted lurking on roofs in a red outfit once a year. And then like the CSI lab gets back and be like, the boops match. And it's like, wait, it's Santa, rather than like, you sitting there going, and then St. Nicholas gave coal to everyone because we were all cold because of global warming. And like there's a big difference between those two things. And also like, the idea of in medias res, like you want to start the traditional advice is start in the middle of something, but I think better advice is start as close to the beginning of something as possible. Because like Kay and I have sat and watched charity episodes and like one shots, and the first hour and a half is the people all convincing each other that they want to do the thing. And it's like, come on, meow. Come on, meow.
And again, I reference this a lot, but like a lot of people, especially now, it can be done well. There are really good storytellers who are going to be like, okay, this is the first episode of this campaign, and I'm going to tell you a story, and you are going to be fascinated, and it's going to be half hour of story before we meet the characters. And it can be done, but I don't recommend you try it, especially not for your first one, right? Once you've got some, but for 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic. Cool. That's what I needed to know. Jump in, and then let's find out about the Empire and the rest of it as we go, because it gets way more interesting that way. If you watch Godplay, and David and I love to give the characters a bunch of information which seems disparate, and then as you go through it, your characters are like, wait, that, huh? We're like, aren't you clever?
This all meant something.
Clever.
That's fun. Yeah, I feel like that. You got, and this just comes with experience. I feel like you just got to find that balance of like giving enough exposition, letting the players fill in the world in their own minds, and then also like just there's got to be a little bit of railroading here and there. And I feel like that just it's a tough thing to learn on the fly when people are like watching you if you're streaming or podcasting and whatnot. But just after a while, it just starts to click and starts to make sense. You realize what works for you, and you realize how you tell stories and how you devolve information to your players and your audience and whatnot. And it just takes some time, because there's 1,000 different ways to tell the same story, and you just got to find out what works for you and what works for like the systems and the situation you've got going on.
Look at The Lion King. That wasn't an original story,
Mm-mm.
but everyone loved that retelling.
Everyone loves it. Look at what was it? Yeah, I mean, the new Avatar, for example, the James Cameron stuff. There's nothing new about that story, but it is beautiful.
When I sat in the theater and paid my $15 to watch the first one, I was like, listen, I've seen Fern Gully before 20 years ago, and it had a sexier villain. And Oh Brother Where Art Thou, one of the not just great Coen brother films, but one of the great films with many of the great performances of all time, is just a 3,000-year-old story retold. And it's really fascinating.
And again, I have watched so many GM roundtables with the best you will find, the most Matt Mercer, Brennan Lee Mulligan, Abria, who was the other one? Heck, there was another person sitting at that table, and I'm drawing a blank on it. And all of them are like, someone brought up the Mercer effect to Matt Mercer, which is, a little awkward, right?
Yeah.
Those of you who maybe don't know, Mercer is an incredible storyteller and great at very long form campaigns and great at voices and just really immersive storytelling. And people are like, well, I can't do that. And everyone sees Matt Mercer doing Critical Role and they don't want to sit at my table because I can't do all that stuff. And every single one of them is like, so don't tell stories like Matt Mercer, right? Mercer can't tell the stories that you want to tell. So tell your story. And they're like, no one is going to out improv GM Brennan Lee Mulligan, right? No one is going to have the chaotic, horny energy of a Bria or Gabe, right? Like, no one is going to have more off the hook NPCs, DMPCs than Bronze Girl. Right? You are not going to outdo these people in these particular things, but you do things in ways that they will not, because your background, your storytelling, your experiences are different. So don't be them. Take what you can learn from them and apply it to your own stories and your own methods of storytelling. And we talk about this a lot. Not every story and not every method of storytelling is for everyone. I famously don't have a great deal of love for rules-light games. Fine in one-shots, but long-term campaigns, I'm like, I don't understand how you do it. To me, they feel like video games where the controls feel floaty. Like I'm not anchored in the world enough to really know what I can and can't do. They're like, that's the joy. And I'm like, no, that's not the joy. Not everything works for everyone. And that is not me saying rules-light games are bad. They're great. I have watched incredible rules-light games being played. They're just not necessarily for me. And that's awesome, because I can take more crunchy systems and go, now that I know the rules really well, I'm going to break them all. I'm going to break your hearts. I'm going to turn everything upside down, and you are not ready.
I'm going to break them all. That's amazing.
David once described my play style as I use the box to break the box.
Yeah, it's like you have to, like, and Kay's approach is different than like a rules lawyer. Like Kay isn't trying to be technically correct. Kay is like, you've given me these Legos. What is the most insane mech I can build with them? And it's like, it's a bunch of little pieces of plastic that you stick together. Why is it an engine? Where's the smoke coming from? And Kay's like, well, you handed me the plastic things.
I recognize this probably shouldn't work, but I think it's really cool. Do you think it's cool enough to work? Yes? Okay.
There we go. Yeah, there's so many different cool styles out there, and everyone's got a unique voice and a unique way to interpret the rules. And I mean, that's one thing I love about D&D specifically. I know it's not necessarily I know it's not the best system, but it's there for a reason. But in one of the like page 3 or 4 of the DMG, it's literally like, don't ever like listen to this book. Like you do you, like whatever stories you're trying to tell and whatever works for you and your table, like those are the rules that matter. I think even I saw this thing with Matt Mercer the other day where someone at a con, someone asked him about a certain rule calling he did in one of his games, and Matt very politely kind of shot back and was like, "Oh well, yes, I broke the rule, but like it made everyone at the table had a better time because of it, and everyone like the story was better because of it." And I think that's really what it comes down to is like if you have a bunch of people like Kay, where it's like we need to know the rules, and that is what's going to make at least starting the game fun. Like you got to lean into that. But if you have a bunch of people like myself, where I'm like, yeah, I'm down to flex and flub the rules a little bit because I trust that we're not going to abuse that to like, oh, now I have 55 magic plus 55 swords. It's like, no, like that's no fun. But like flexing and bending things to make it fit better for your table works for some people.
Yes.
So, is it still not working?
They just messed up. Thank you, Rubinanza.
Thank you. I'm gonna try a different internet browser here. Hold on.
It really likes
Chrome-based ones.
Well,
it really likes Google. Google is not the word.
Yeah. Well, that actually, this might be the problem. Is I was using Brave. Have you ever used Brave before?
Well, Brave is a Chromium.
It is a Chromium.
Nice.
Pretty great. Hey, JD, welcome in.
Hello.
But one of the things that Kay and I have talked about like repeatedly is the worst feeling in the world is a player wants to do a thing and their understanding of how the mechanic works doesn't match with how the mechanic actually works, and then you got to tell them no, which is why Kay always says, like in 0 sessions, in the middle of sessions, tell me what you are trying to do, and then we figure out a way to make it work. And like the furious Googling, the furious like page flipping that I'll do behind the scenes, where Kay is like, okay, well maybe you could do this, and then I'm just like click, 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 and then Kay will look over and be like, oh, this is you could actually do it this way. It's
D&D TTRPGs are improv.
Yeah.
And improv works best when you yes and, not when you say no. You can yes and, you can no but, right? You don't just say no. And David and I talk a lot about, Ducky and I talk a lot about getting out of the way of players. Like as a GM, you need to know when it's time to shut up and get out of the way of your players and let them do their thing. You also don't want the rules to get in the way of your character. And again, that's not to say it's now a free-for-all, but the number of times that David and I have said something like, okay, that's really cool. You're going to get to do it. It's not going to work again. You get to do this this time, right? And time. If 6 episodes from now you say, yeah, but we're going to say we told you the one time, right? You figured out a cute. We're giving you this win. This is not a get out of jail free button.
That's a good way to look at it, because I feel like the one of the problems with having a much more like rules light GM is people tend to sort of take advantage. Yeah. And that's just not fun. Like because my whole thing when it comes to GMing and DMing is like I'm on your team. We're not actually versing each other. So like I'm not going to try to like withhold like powers and game from you. I want to work together and like I want to yes and this, like you were saying, but also like don't like try to hold that over me. Like I've done a couple one shots, and usually I let stuff fly in one shots because like it's a one shot, I don't really care. Yeah. But the amount of time there's one person specifically who I've done a lot of them with, and they're constantly like, okay, cool. So I see you gave us level 10. Great. Can I actually be level 15? Because it'd be really. And I'm just like, no, like. No, why? Like, why are you trying to do this? Like, we can figure something out, but like, don't try to like be better than everyone else just for the sake of being better. Like, that's just that's no fun. Like, we're all on the same team here.
I take so much joy out of my characters failing or not succeeding, or like having a stat that they are just very bad at. Hey, welcome on in, Leslie. Like, if you can't find joy in, like, if you have to win to have fun, you're not gonna.
Yeah.
Well, you might have fun in TTRPGs, but I can almost promise you everyone at the table is not gonna have fun with you. They're, but yes, and I think too that's part of my discomfort with rules light systems is I'm like, I have an idea and there's nothing in the rules that says this is bending, breaking, and I as a player don't know how far out there. I don't know if what I'm asking is big until I ask it and the GM's
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, okay, so now I
Yeah.
feel bad because it seems a logical thing I should have.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was a more set system, I'd be like, I know I shouldn't be able to do this. Just checking, it can't do this, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. And yeah.
It's challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you gotta find that balance we were talking about earlier.
The Bewitching just asked, do y'all prefer room for flavor and interpretation within the systems, limited locked options like 5e, or more free-form but complex systems that allow through creativity through hard use of rules like Pathfinder 2e? I don't know how much Pathfinder 2e either of you have played.
A little bit, like a couple mini campaigns here and there. Like it's a great system.
It is.
I just personally get overwhelmed sometimes. I played in a couple games. I'll put it this way: I played in a couple games with amazing GMs who are very patient and very, very knowledgeable, and that makes it easier to kind of get into Pathfinder, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Then I played a couple games where the GMs are like, oh yeah, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, I'm like, well, okay, this isn't making sense, because if like if everyone knows Pathfinder is supposed to be, this is it, this is Pathfinder. There's a rule for it. We're gonna follow that rule. But if you go into that with that expectation, and then your GM's like, whatever, it's like, okay, now I'm confused. So, but I'm sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, do you prefer more not rules light, but more like 5e where there's not that many, where you can flavor and interpret things a lot, or more like build this thing exactly as you want because the system allows it?
I think personally, I'm much more into like the 5e, much more like flavor, flexible, kind of bendy rule system. I'm trying to think of some other games that are like that. I feel like that's kind of that way with like Monster of the Week and like the Power by the Apocalypse games, where it's like, here's your very basic rules, and now just go have fun with it. Yeah. Personally, I like that because I come from an improv background, and I just feel much more comfortable in like okay, here's the box, here's the very weak little box, have fun with it, as opposed to like, here's your 55 boxes, and each of them are very important and integral to the functioning of this system, and if you don't remember all of them, it's going to mess up. Which I know that's not exactly the case, but
I just recently joined a Pathfinder 2e game at level 9.
Whoa! Oh my goodness.
That was stressful. I tapped Leslie for help. I tapped multiple people of like,
whoa.
Even with Path Builder, and if you haven't used Path Builder, it's a free thing that lets you build your Pathfinder character, and it's great. It is the D&D Beyond character creation of.
Hell yeah.
And it's great. But even with that, I was so overwhelmed at times. But like, I will say, the game I joined is Circus the Broken Chain. It's a circus game. We are circus performers who also save the world.
Hell yeah.
And so I had pitched the idea of like a tiefling acrobat, and it was a lot, and I have to be a lot, and I am queer, so therefore I usually play tieflings, and I was like, all white tiefling with hoovesies, who for performances, like their whole shtick is like a unicorn thing. So they put on like this little horn in addition to their like actual horns, right? And they perform as this, because they've got the long tail with the little fur poof on the end, so it's very. And then I went to build the character, and Paizo's like, interesting character you got there. Would you like that horn to be real? You can use it to cast magic. And I'm like,
excuse me?
Yeah.
Excuse me, what?
After I'd pitched it, the unicorn horn is now real, and they can cast magic through it.
The number of time Paizo has seen Kay coming. Because this is the first time it's happened. Like, Kay and I has been like, so I've been working on this character, and I've been trying to build it out in Pathfinder, and I had this idea, and I did like flip. There it is.
Boom. Well, that was like the very first time I played Pathfinder. I played with GM Waffles from Waffles Maple Syrup, which both Waffles and Syrup, wonderful, top tier human beings, love them. It was a similar situation where I was like, I want to try to be this weird salad person. He's like, there's a rule for that. I'm like, no, there's not. He flips to the page like, right here. I was like, no, you foiled me again. But yeah,
the dressing that you wear affects your combat rolls.
Literally, there's a rule for it. Like, it's nuts.
If anyone wondered just how queer Paizo is, just go flip through Pathfinder 2e.
Very cool.
Leslie said they love robust rules for character creation, but prefer lighter rules at the table.
That makes a lot of sense.
Which I appreciate both. Like I said, I was telling Tilstra this before we started. My GM let me homebrew a background for one of my characters who I torture David with on a regular basis, my himbo bard, who wandered in and out of the Feywild without knowing that he was wandering in and out of the Feywild, and had creepy goat eyes and little satyr horns, but isn't a satyr. Was talking to Fey folk in his dreams, not realizing he was dreaming. Like, all this stuff was going on, and then Wild Beyond the Witchlight came out. And that's the Fey Lost background. That is exactly like my homebrew background was now a canon background.
Wild Behind the Witch. Well, I'm the only time I've pulled a K in a game is I build this character, and I'm like, you know what? He's gonna be really into teeth. I don't know. I personally, and I was talking to Kay about this in a meeting we had where I was like, I've kind of played on stream characters that are completely different than the normal characters I play in games, like not in front of a camera. And so like if you only know me from the characters I play in like the couple of times I've played in games then you have a vastly different picture of what my normal. But so I'm like, you know what?
Also, putting David and I together in a game is not a good idea. We are fine on our own, but together we turn into Better Call Saul.
Because Kay terrorizes everyone else, and then I terrorize Kay, and then it becomes a problem for everyone twice. And I use the other players to terrorize Kay, which is it's so. But so I was like, this dude's really into teeth. He loves teeth. He collects teeth. He has them in a bag. Crack open Wild Behind a Witchlight. One of the starting items you get is a bag of teeth, and I was just like, how did they know I was coming?
How did they know? Come on, wizards, what the hell?
Right. It's the only time I've pulled the K.
That's hilarious. Wait, what was it's just an item you can, because I'm currently
one of the starting trinkets. So when you begin the adventure, you there's like a D100 roll, and you get like 3 trinkets off it. And like one of them is like a tarot card. One of them. So this is again my Phalos bard has panpipes, goes around playing panpipes, and is a Disney princess.
Nice.
So plays panpipes, and wildlife starts appearing. Right.
Delightful.
One of the trinkets in this is a panpipe that, when played, attracts harmless local fauna. And I'm like,
Kinley's a Disney princess. Done.
And y'all realize you had your Discord calls open to wizards while you were making your characters.
So I need you all to understand that I have been doing this for way too long. Back in the early days, I'm taking you back to the days of yore, to the days of AIM and the Neopets forums. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm not telling you what my scream name was, but on the Neopets forums, I was part of a group where we wrote a whole bunch of Final Fantasy VII fan fiction. And like we would like take each other's characters and incorporate them into our stories. It was like it was a weird, it was TTRPG without the real we didn't And I was writing about a character who was a Turk who was recruited as a Turk because they had survived a Mako reaction explosion.
Oh wow.
And surviving that, they could absorb materia into their body and cast magic that way without needing a slot on equipment or armor. 10 years later, Advent Children came out. And for giggle, I was like, they're doing, that's my thing. And I went back and I found my Neopets login and I logged in, and I had messages from people going, did you work on that?
That's so cool.
It was so weird. There was, look.
Hell yeah.
A lot of mine was Reno related because Reno is my boy.
Of course.
Reno is the best part of Final Fantasy VII. I will die on this Shinra hill.
I love it. Yeah, that Well, it just shows that y'all are very creative and your ideas have a lot of merit. If you've ever doubted yourself, just think back to the Neopets and the fanfic you made. I love it. Wow.
I mean, Elna was also pretty great. I mean, all the Turks, like all the Turks.
Yeah. Final Fantasy. It's such a. I have not played nearly enough nearly as much as I should have, but every time I've played it, I'm like, this game is amazing. Well, I understand why it's some people's literal like identity in life.
This is weird. I work in video games, and I have a friend who used to work for Shinra.
Ooh.
Because once upon a time, Square Enix decided they were doing a cloud-based game thing, and they wanted to spin it out as a sub company, and they decided it should be Shinra. Only they didn't want it. It wasn't Shinra Electric Company. It was just to be Shinra, and instead of the red logo, they made it a blue logo. So I have a large amount of Shinra Technologies merch from when they shut it down. My friend like grabbed a bunch because he's all like, how often do you get a blue logo Shinra thing?
Yeah.
And then he sat on it for like 8 years and was like, I don't know what to do all this crap. And then he met me and he's all like, you get Frisbees, you get notebooks.
You get everything.
Yes, please.
It's like a personal con. You just get.
It's some of the coolest stuff I own. Like
It is
Baby
really
K
cool.
would have lost their darn mind.
Shinra Technologies. Yeah, that's amazing. I just did a job for Square Enix a couple months ago. Actually, I was just helped their live broadcast of their Final Fantasy Day in Los Angeles.
Guess who was at that? Oh, you were at the FanFest, not the.
Yeah,
I was at FanFest over the summer, but that was in Vegas. That was a hot mess.
Kaishi.
Precisely.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce Irish or Gaelic or any of those things. Therefore, I leave it to Kay. But it's funny because like the Venn diagram of video games I've played and video games Kay has played, like just barely touches. It's almost two complete circles.
Yeah.
And so like Kay and I are getting to be friends, and Kay is like, oh man, I played this back in the day. It was great. And I was just like, what game is that? And Kay really like reinforced the idea of how different a gamer you could be. Except Kay mentioned something about Cloud and Barrett going on a date, and I was like, wait, you mean Final Fantasy VII, Cloud? And she's like, yeah. And then immediately Spider-Man meme is just like, you.
Yeah. Amazing.
I don't know if any of y'all were as closeted queer as I was when Final Fantasy VII came out, but if you were mean enough to all the girls, Cloud would go on a date with Barrett. And for the longest time, I didn't know that you found out in the Gold Saucer what Kaishi was up to. And so I knew it way before like the point in the game where most people did. Because Cloud and Barrett went on a date. And Barrett was very awkward and it was adorable.
Aww.
Barrett is best husband.
Barrett's a whole movie for a lot of reasons.
So many.
Do you know why they made him wear sunglasses indoors in the remake?
No.
Because if he took them off, he'd fall into his eyes.
Oh my god!
Both of us were lined up on that precipice, and Kay just knocked us in.
Great.
Devastating.
I'm not even sorry.
You shouldn't be. That was great. That was very masterfully played.
But yes, so just like not every type of video games for everyone, because David and I have Final Fantasies, we have Chrono Trigger, and we have Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's like it.
It's like outside of like the like before
Zeldas.
1995, everyone played these 5 games.
Yeah.
But like we don't even have the same Zeldas because I didn't play Link's Awakening until like last year.
And Link's Awakening is the best one.
And
it's an excellent one.
And I'm not sure if you've played. I know you haven't played Majora's Mask.
No.
Yo, that one slaps.
I've started it a couple times, but it's in that that was the era that I felt. So I never owned an N64 or a GameCube.
Mm.
I missed that entire generation because of college and various things.
Mhm.
And so all of a sudden Zelda's went from top down to this 3D thing, and I did not yet have an understanding of
Yeah.
camera control, much less the ability to camera control while shooting a thing, while drinking a potion, and handling however many freaking buttons were on those controllers.
Mhm.
And I understand, like, also parts of Final Fantasy VII were very ugly, but those games were really ugly. They're just really ugly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you don't dig
And
the
I'm-
art style, then of like the 64 polygons, then
Yeah.
you're gonna have a hard
Yeah.
time.
So I recently I've been practicing Ocarina of Time because I want to try and do like a speed run of it. And every once in a while we'll get to a part. I see you. Speed runs. I want to. I wish I had that skill. I want to get to that point in my video gaming career because it's so cool.
Do you know I used to hang out with Grand Pooh Bear?
Really?
Yeah, he's great.
What?
He's amazing.
Oh my goodness.
He
Oh,
is
the grandest of
he
Pooh
is
Bears.
the nicest human being.
That makes sense. I feel like that's yeah. It feels like a lot of folks in the TTRPG space and video game space kind of coincide with each other. Yeah, man, Grand Pooh Bear. I was just watching some. What was that?
That was from when I worked at Red Bull. I helped do a bunch of the Grand Pooh Bear. I did like the world tour that he did, and I did the
Very cool.
Vegas and all that. Yeah, he's really nice, and that's how I met Moni, who does
Okay.
crowd control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Great people. Great people. And again,
Nice.
David knows I will not say that someone is nice if they're not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, like if they're a shitbag, K
I won't say it on stream.
Yeah, K won't blast somebody in public,
Yeah,
but
because you're a good
if
person.
you connect that K has met someone and K hasn't, they're probably not. Now you're gonna have a hard time connecting them because K is like, I just don't talk about that person. We don't.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna slander this person, but also
I'm not going to promote him either.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, 'cause you-
Most of these people, like my following, they're following, so it doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
also,
you're just a decent human being. You have integrity,
it
which a
doesn't,
lot of people. More
it
people
doesn't do
don't have.
anyone any good
Yeah.
to be like, hot take, I hate this person.
I'm tired of this person. That's wild. But you know, if you ever go and do some Zelda speedruns, David, let me know. We got to work on it. I think
I am incapable of speedrunning anything. I'm still trying to climb back to gold in Overwatch 2. Like
I just placed last night. Silver 3, baby. Silver 3.
Yeah, well, so I'm glad we're on the same page here.
Let's go. No, we're right
Like
there.
I'm intimidated because I was like, man, Tilstra's probably gonna be really good, and I'm gonna be garbage.
No. Silver 3.
I was gonna make a point about. Oh yeah, you're a terrible person if we make you a villain in a Christmas one shot. Like that is the litmus test. Like the Stalin episode, the Leopold episode, those are coming in the future. They will be villains in our but until then,
you're just a person.
Yeah.
Makes
So
sense.
if we're gonna take shots at somebody, we're gonna make sure that taking shots at someone really helps a bunch of people.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, because it was for the Christmas cookie caper one, it was
Melon Tusk.
yes, that's right. I was trying to remember. Yes, that was hilarious when that came across. And yeah, they're a pretty shitty person. I feel like that goes back a little bit to what we were talking about earlier with TTRPGs and like coping and like therapy and stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff that happens in the world that I feel like, especially with one shots, you can just sort of address in a non-destructive, non-violent way or non-dangerous way. And yeah, I feel like that we can deal with a lot of these people who seem to be running the world right now. I'm just like, yeah, Melon Tusk. I think we fed him to a dragon at some point. It was cool.
No, he got carried off by the Twitter bird.
That's what it was.
You all didn't even truly fight him.
Thanks, Twitter.
But also, like, as you know, when I was recruiting people for this, like part of the message, I'm like, this is a humorous one shot, but it's going to be comedy and hijinks, but it's also going to touch on some like real world issues, some real world events and happenings that, so without saying like, it's going to be Melon Tusk, or like, there's going to be some like satirical takes on modern events, so that someone didn't come in and go like, I never want to hear that name again. Like I deleted my account. So, because you don't want to surprise people.
No. Well, that's also something I respect about the way you run your games, Kay, is you're very upfront and you're very safety first, which is very, very cool. I know a lot of folks do that, but I think the way you handle, I feel like you're able to tackle some more issues because you're just upfront and still very caring and put your players first. So I think that's very, very good.
And David keeps me in line.
There you go, David.
It is. And I think that's one thing that's really important about our process is the question that we ask each other, that I'll ask Kay, that Kay will ask me, is this too much? Because like, as anyone who is chronically on the internet, there's some dark stuff you have experienced both in real life and on the internet. Especially if, I don't know, you were head moderator at DeviantArt.
Who does that? I don't know.
Who?
And
I don't have any trauma.
Right. And so, and like, Kay and I have a lot of dark humor. We could like, really find the morbid humor in a lot of really dark stuff, but that is not for everyone and should not be for everyone. Like it is a coping mechanism for trauma, and different people have different coping mechanisms. And so we both have to like look at each other and go, okay, is this too much? And I think
this safe for off of this call.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, because one, like, both Kay and I don't want to introduce more harm into the world.
Exactly.
Like you will absolutely accidentally like step on someone's toes at some point online or in real life, and you apologize, but like you still try to avoid doing that. And there's this pervasive thing on certain sections of the internet where it's like, well, I'll just say whatever I want, and if you get mad about it, then and they'll tell you, they're like, the world isn't a nice place, the world isn't fair, and you're like,
I hate that.
yeah, and it's like, that is true. You don't have to make it worse.
Yeah.
Like humans make
kindness.
the world, so we can choose to be and do better. So why not?
Also, yeah, I just that whole mentality of like, oh yeah, no, the world is already pretty shitty, so why would I try to make it better? It's like, yes, of course, but like exactly like what you're saying. It's like if all I'm in control of is just the way I interact with people and the way I view the world, like why would I try to just feed that monster of like, oh, like yes, the world is already hard, the world is already dangerous. Let's just lean into that. No, that doesn't make any sense. That's one of the things I try to do with TTRPGs is like, I never want to put like racism or any sort of like actual, like unless like someone's like, hey, I'm trying to work with something, let's figure this out. But like to me, it's more like we play these games to learn about ourselves, to learn about our friends, and to kind of escape from reality for a second. So why would we try to make it reality when we are trying to escape from that? That's sort of where I'm at right now with TTRPGs.
Yeah, David and I've spoken a lot about like killing the girlfriend for no reason, killing a baby or a child. It's like, that's just also just really low-hanging, like really lazy storytelling.
Yep.
Like, I'm not saying there's never a place for it, but like if I'm watching a TV show and they introduce a baby and then immediately kill the baby, I'm like, that's just really lazy writing.
Yeah. That's the thing. It just comes down to like, inner strength in writing and just pushing yourself a little farther creatively to like, yes, you can have those traumatic moments, but you can do it in a way that isn't harmful. Sorry, I cut you off, David.
JD says that's like saying pollution exists, so I'm gonna go eat some dolphins.
Yeah.
Dolphins are not without sin, and that's all I'm going to say.
No.
But almost 20 years ago, when I really started to get serious about writing, and I was reading a bunch of articles, and like the internet was a very different place then, but a dude who was a editor at a sci-fi short story magazine was like, here are 5 things that that I cannot see in a short story if you want to submit it. And number 1, the first thing was, listen, don't kill your wife. Don't write a story where the main character kills his wife. Don't make it happen in the first 3 pages. Don't spend 10 pages writing in detail about killing you. And like, I'll say a lot of things about men. And if anybody who has seen the Barbie movie recently knows that men are a source of a lot of problems. But that was one of like my early, like, baby David had like a crystallized moment of like, these dudes just sit down and think about murdering their wives all day, every day, to the point whereby they're so blind to it, they write it into a story and submit it and go, this is hot shit, it's gonna get published. Like, what?
Yeah.
What?
People are weird.
What are, trying to bring this back around to From Afar?
Sure, yeah. I mean,
you've we have spent a lot of time talking about storytelling and safety, and all that is great.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure we at least spend a little bit more time on your podcast.
No worries.
That's what I'm, and you've spoken about, you've had early luck, and like, I do feel like there is kind of that mid-campaign sag, because you come in and you've got the basics of the world, right? You're like, I've got the basics of the world, I've got an idea, and then your players come in and bring characters, and y'all, those characters are great. Like, if you're a GM and you are not a fan of your characters, please find another table.
Yeah.
Because if you are not a fan of your characters, no one's going to have a good time, least of all you. And they come in and they do cool stuff, and they tell stories, and they take your world and they take it in directions you didn't expect, and you get to like be agile and add it in and adjust it and be like, hey, did you maybe think that maybe that thing that you knew you maybe don't know? Might be wrong. And then you kind of, especially like, I'm really spoiled that I've gotten to run some shorter campaigns, like, so they're very structured. So I'm like, I know we're gonna go from this act to the middle act to the end. Longer term campaigns kind of terrify me, because I'm like, I don't know where it's going, so I don't know how to lay all of those seeds. Like, and I feel like that is a challenge with the longer form ones.
Absolutely.
Because you come in early, you're like, I've got the world, these characters are great. Am I good enough for the characters? At least me as a GM, that's how I feel. Talk to us a little bit about, kind of figuring out the pacing and the storytelling and tying things together, because that is not an easy thing.
No, not at all. And that is probably the thing that I have struggled with most overall with From Afar, because like when we started From Afar, this was the very first time I'd ever GM'd or DM'd was for this. So
you are very brave,
ambitious.
Like,
yeah, well, it's thank you. It definitely. Going back, if I was to go back now, I would tell myself a lot of things to do differently, and I would just do a lot of things differently. But I think I come from improv and a writing background, so I knew I could sort of make it work. But that what you were talking about, though, of like sort of pacing and like dealing with a story that you've created in your head, and then having 3+ other stories kind of get thrown on top of that, and like, how do you mix all those together and pace it all out and everything. I think just one of the first things I would do moving forward to another thing would be I would talk to my characters a lot, my players a lot more, and just like figure out, okay, like this is the story you want to tell, this is the kind of thing you want to try to do. And that would be really helpful, because I did that, but not nearly as much as I should have moving forward, or with From Afar. But specifically when it comes to like pacing, I think I kind of lucked out, because I still sort of do this, and it seems to work fairly well. Before I was doing all of this, I was doing a lot of screenwriting, and I'm sure both of you know, writing in general is very structured, but screenwriting specifically is very, very structured. Like, it's even done to the point of like, at this part of this page, you need to have this sort of moment. So that means 10 pages later, you can have like, there's very structured like plot points and like tent poles that you go towards when you're writing a screenplay. And because that's all I knew how to do, that's how I structured the overall story of From Afar. Was like, I didn't really know exactly what the world was going to look like. I didn't really know exactly what each of the, like, I didn't know everything about the world before I started it, but I did know like these are sort of like the main story beats I want to get to. So that was really helpful for me. And then knowing that, I was able to flex my plot points around to fit with what my characters' backstories were, and then I was able to sort of flesh that out and be like, okay, well now, if this is my overall like outline, that means I have about this many episodes here, this many episodes here, this many episodes here, and I think obviously there's still a lot I can do with pacing, because we've been running From Afar for 3 years now, and we just crossed our 100th episode, but they're not all within the same story, because there's a couple other stories we've added in. Yeah. So we've done 100 episodes now, and I think to answer your question, because I came from a screenwriting background, I was able to like loosely outline what I wanted to do, and then it was like a pretty light and agile outline to like flex and bend as the story grew and progressed. Because like my initial thought for From Afar was the whole thing was going to be about 60 episodes, and
that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, and I had it all structured out, like with episodes and everything, and then I realized pretty early on, like, oh, this is closing my eyes to what my players need and what my players want. So
and no plan ever survives first contact with the players.
No, not at all, and it shouldn't. And that is literally the gold of TTRPGs, is like making a story and then offering it up to a group of people, being like, okay, how can we make this better, and what would you add to this moving forward? And so with that outline, I was able to just like sort of flex and bend and add things and shift things and grow things to what they need to be. And I think if I was to do it all over again, if I was to start it all over, I would do that same sort of very loose outline, but really sit down with my players and be like, okay, this is what I'm thinking. I'm going to give you all a lot of information about this world and this story that's about to come down the pipelines, because I know you are creative and I know you will make this story better. Yeah. So then I would talk with them about what they want, what their goals are for this campaign, and then be like, here's what I'm thinking for this campaign. Let's marry these two together and make it work in this situation. So yeah, it's tough, but to me, that is the fun part of GMing, is trying to figure out how to keep people engaged and how to keep the story feeling fresh and feeling like it's moving forward. And like I was saying earlier, I think I've sort of not necessarily dropped the ball, but like just because we've been going for 80 plus episodes over 3 years, you're just going to hit those like peaks and valleys, and being able to like find the ways to energize yourself and your players and bring it back up out of the valleys into the peaks, I think is just part of the game. Because if everything was like super intense, super high peak the entire time, I feel like it wouldn't be fun. It's like, oh, it's so intense, I just need a second to break. So I feel like just the natural ebb and flow of humanity in TTRPGs makes it very fun. I don't know if that made any sense, what I just said.
Absolutely. We had coming in when we were recruiting for Godplane, and we were bringing in people. You know, one of the things we said is like, this is not that's what she said campaign, right? Like, don't, if a mind flayer shows up and you immediately go, whoop, 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 Zoidberg, right? Like you've destroyed the moment. And every time we've said that, at least one person has been like, so we're not allowed to be funny. And I'm like, no, I need you to be funny.
Yeah.
Because if it is just doom and gloom and terror the whole time,
Mhm.
it's going to be a depressing. But I need you to be funny after you've killed the Mind Slayer, not when it first shows up, right?
Yeah.
I need you to be funny when processing your trauma, not like, oh, here's the big tense moment. I'm going to crack a joke. And now everyone's giggling about penis pumps and we're
Yeah.
not actually focusing on fighting this thing.
Yeah.
That did happen, not in Gunflame, but the penis bumps has happened in a TTRPG I've been in. Yeah,
And-
you can only sustain emotions for about 10 to 15 minutes, then you're numb to it. So if you
Yeah.
do not give those peaks and valleys.
And we've never had players who had trouble like maintaining the vibe.
Mhm.
Like even when we have people go, oh, so I can't, and we're like, no, you could be funny, and then they get into the game and they're like, oh, and then it all makes sense. But it's important to preference that. But
Yeah.
I do have a question. Since the problem I always have and always avoid, yes, you fight the big bit. Now I have to redo that entire combat. But you do podcasts, you do streaming, and as Kay will tell you, the intimidating part for me, the part that I avoid, is all the tech stuff. So, what advice would you have to someone who, or to people who want to stream, who want to podcast, but the tech back end aspect of things is intimidating or daunting?
Oh, yeah, this is going to sound like kind of generic advice at first. But if you're interested in either podcasting or streaming, just take a look at the three of us right here. We've been doing this for a very long time and we still hit those tech issues. So like, it's going to happen. Just like, you just got to learn to kind of roll with it. And like, luckily, like we were saying earlier, luckily a lot of the people in the space, luckily a lot of the people in the space are very kind and very patient and very forgiving. So like, I know in the moment it will definitely feel like, oh gosh, my cameras are all off, or how do I get this working? It's gonna feel very, there's like there's a lot of stress and a lot of pressure, but like everyone's very forgiving. But like, yeah, I would very, very much say, like, don't, if you have a passion for storytelling or a passion for video gaming or for a passion for charity streams or a passion for whatever it is, don't let something as simple and fickle as tech hold you back from that. Because like, again, like we were saying earlier, like with the Matt Mercer effect, you have a story that needs to be told, and don't let a stupid mic from Yeti be the thing that someone else on the other side of the computer screen doesn't hear that story and doesn't get inspired by what you have to say. Because like I said, the tech issues are going to happen. Like when we first started From Afar, we recorded actually for a whole year before we released any episodes. And at that point we finished our year and we're like, cool, that was really fun, should we release these episodes? And we literally were like, no, they're not good enough. And we have them all just hidden on a hard drive somewhere, and we're like, this wasn't good enough technically, but we still really enjoy what we're doing and we still really want to do it. So we're like, all right, let's just start over, and we're just going to go again. So like, don't let the tech hold you back, because like it will. It's going to mess up. It's going to suck. Like the amount of times I've had to redo episodes of From Afar because we finished the episode, so that's it for this session, stop recording, and then my computer's like, and by the way, we weren't recording that entire time. It's like, god damn it. Like, it's very easy to give up at that point, but like, you won't get to the awesome moment of connecting with your players, connecting with yourself, with your story, if you let the tech hold you back. And then on the other side of that, there's a lot of really great videos out there that show you how to do it very easily. So go watch some videos, and just don't let it keep you in the dark, because your story needs to be told.
I'm really glad.
I always say from the other side, also don't turn around and spend $5,000 on your setup before you've done anything to find out that actually I don't enjoy this, because it is performing, it is work, it is hard, it is exhausting. Especially when you start out, you're going to be streaming to or talking to empty chat rooms. There's going to be no one in your Discord. So it sucks if you find out I don't enjoy it, I don't have an audience, and I'm out thousands of dollars.
And sorry, go for it.
I'm really glad you brought up the, oh my God, I wasn't recording, because everyone who does podcasts, who does streaming, who does recorded content, there are a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of synergy that has to happen. Like right before the show, I was trying to like build an overlay and make sure this thing was running, and Kay was like captions and did this thing update, and that's just for like our talk show, which we do every week and we know how to do. Everyone's going to have a moment of like, by the way, did you hit record? But like, well, okay, I recorded the thing, and then it was processing it and exporting, and then but my computer ate itself, and now it's gone, or now it's corrupted, or I have this video file, but there's like a hitch, and I have to edit it, and everything was going, and then I pressed the button, and now I have to go back and do it. Like, all of that stuff will happen. And even when you are experienced, so like I've over the years I've done some work for a bunch of musicians, and like I know people who work in recording studios. I know sound engineers. I know producers, and like someone who's been a producer for 15 years will still be like, by the way, were we recording on track 8? And they're like, no. And it's like, well, got to do it again.
Yeah.
And like, it's easy to do for a 3-minute song. It's a whole different thing when it's a 3-hour recording, but it will happen, and it will happen to you.
There was one time, because I'm a filmmaker. Like, that's usually what I do to make money. And when I used to live in Florida, I used to film a lot of like corporate interviews and just like corporate videos for different schools and hospitals and stuff all around. And one time I was interviewing the principal of this like school that had just done some big thing, raised a bunch of money or something. So I was interviewing this principal. I still feel bad about it, because I think he knew what was going on, but I think he was a very gracious person and was just like, yeah, whatever. We did the whole like 35-minute, 40-minute interview, and I look over to my camera and like I press the stop button, and then the red light turns on. I was like, oh God. And so I looked at him and I was like, hey, so you actually know what I like to do sometimes when I'm recording is sometimes I do the whole interview and then I do it again because people are a lot less nervous. And he's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, let's do it again. I was like, oh my God, thank you. But yeah, it literally happens every time.
Yeah. Yeah. Patch says we had an episode that we had to record 3 times and nearly gave up on because of tech issues. And like, again, a thing we can't talk about yet. One night while trying to record a thing, we had 4 tech issues across 3 different people.
Oof.
All different tech issues. And then JD says, a podcast I've been listening to for 10 years, at least once a quarter, they'll apologize for being low energy or repeating themselves because it's the second or third time they've had to record it because of tech issues.
Yep, it happens every time. I think I had to do like 2 finales over once.
Yikes.
2 separate finales over, because I stopped using. I use Audition now whenever I record because it seems more stable for me. Because I used to use Audacity, and it just kept eating my files. I don't know why. So it happens. But yeah, don't let it hold you back. If like what Kay said, if you have a passion for it and actually want to do it, like, first of all, don't spend a ton of money just to figure out you don't want to do it. But like, don't let, like, the tech can always be figured out. Can always be figured out. It might take a little while. You might want to pull your hair out while you're doing it, but like, don't let that be the reason. We're still here. Look at us. We all still have our hair. Look at it.
And on the flip side, like, if now, like we've all said and we've all experienced, people are incredibly gracious about it. But if you're there and someone's like fighting the tech gremlins, know that it's not what they want, and they're doing their best to not. And be gracious, be patient. Look at Twitter on your phone, follow Tilstra, and comment on Tilstra's while you wait for the tech gremlins to be solved.
And we've talked about before, like if you want to make it in the TTRPG space, and like let's be very clear. Anyone who's being honest, it is very difficult to earn money, much less a living in the TTRPG space. Like it's difficult. It is not easy or likely. But even just to get invited to things, even to have a successful Patreon, if you are not known for being gracious and easy to work with, you will not get those invites.
It gets around very quickly.
It is hard enough to get the invite when you are known for being gracious and easy to work with. So, you know, it doesn't, as we were saying before, I don't call out people who are jerks because on air, because it doesn't do me any good. But like, just like, yeah, I'm thinking of recruiting, you know, I'm doing this thing and I'm thinking of working with these 3 people. I'm like, you might not want that one person, right? Your experience might be different, but just so you know, and you've got to be at a level for us to even do that. So just don't, as we say, don't be a dick. If you just
Very simple.
don't be a dick, it's really not. And if you need instructions on how to not be a dick, we can write it out more. Because let's be fair, neurodivergence, people don't get social cues. That is a thing. And sometimes you do need don't be a dick explained. But if someone's having tech issues and the whole time you're like,
on your phone, text, "Whoa, this stream is wild. What do we do?"
like I'm on this stream and this person can't even run it right. Like saying it out loud as you type it, you're not going to get the invite back, and no one is gonna, you know. So,
and honestly, you kind of shouldn't at that point. Like, it's just gonna say that one out loud because
I run in, so like I've done this, and I've run into people who've done this where they'll be double muted and they'll forget to unmute one of them, and I love those people because that means that they're really trying not to be obtrusive, and it has not happened recently. But the, like, you've got your microphone and you're eating chips and it's just like crunch, and it's like, bro, I'm gonna need you to back up like 50 meters from that microphone. Would you do that? And I'm not saying don't eat chips. I'm not saying don't like put food in your face, but like, especially if we're on a break or whatever, but bro, don't do that into a hot mic, please God.
I was in session 0 for a game that I ended up not playing in for various reasons. And one person is like crunch, 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 like digging in the bag, crunch, crunch, crunch. And the GM is like, hey, so-and-so, your mic is very hot. And he's like, yeah, I'm eating.
Yeah, I know it.
And I'm like, you already had a couple red flags before I got on this call, bro. And now we got an issue.
Throw the entire player away.
Yes.
The entire player away. Sorry, as we're talking about that, I'm literally getting messages for my next stream. Sorry, I'll message that in a second.
We are nearing the end of the time. I wanted to make sure, chat, did you have any questions for the amazing David Tilstra? Tilstra, do you have any final thoughts or promotions or things you would like to say? Because
Definitely
it is about time that we wrap things up.
Okay. They got some promotions for stuff. Yeah, we got, like I said, From Afar, we're back, we're kicking. We have a couple new episodes since the last time we did this with Kay and David. We've got that. Got a really fun story kicking with Candace and Amber the Space Jammer. That'll be coming out soon-ish. It'll be fun. But the biggest thing we got going on right now is I'm starting a new live play here in Los Angeles. So David, I'll be talking with you pretty soon. We have our first 2 seasons already cast, but basically what we're trying to do, it's called Story Quest, and we're going to be doing like shorter run campaigns, like 10 to 12 episodes with all new players, new DMs, new systems, the whole shebang. Our first season, we've got myself, I'll be running the first season. We have Katie Source is going to be on it. Omar from Dimension 20. Omar's
amazing.
Yeah, Omar. I've had the through other non-TTRPG friends, we've become friends, and delightful human being. So we got some good stuff. Yeah. yeah, we got so Sword Quest is coming up. It's gonna be live. It's gonna be on Twitch. It's gonna be on YouTube. It's gonna be a whole bunch of stuff. So keep your eyes out for that. That's kind of the biggest one right now.
I mean, that's a big one.
It's a big one.
Huge,
Yeah. Yeah. So and like I said, we got the first 2 seasons cast, but hopefully it's just a thing where we just keep going. So all my LA friends, you'll be getting messages from me very soon. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Amazing. Well, David, thank you so much for taking the time to come back again. And this time the audience can actually, like, y'all, I am so sorry y'all could not actually hear or understand what was being said because our first conversation was a heck of a lot of fun.
It was fun, yeah.
It was also a delight. So thank you again for taking.
Of course.
Please do check out From Afar podcast. And David just typed in chat. I just panicked because I didn't remember hitting record. But I remember you saying I am streaming and recording. So
there it is.
Yes, thank you all so much. It was great to see chat. You are all absolutely incredible. Thank you for the follow, Patch. Woo. And Mimics and Misfits for the redeems. Who we gonna go raid?
Bronze is doing just chatting. Xander's playing Zelda, and you know how I feel about Zelda.
Ooh.
We are good friends with Xander if we would like to. That or the Wounded Warrior Project is also doing it just chatting, but I don't know exactly what that means. So maybe we'll do a Xander.
Xander's always a good time.
Xander's a treat always. And retro Zeldas. Oh, Oracle of Ages.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a very good one.
Thank you all so much. Please do remember, follow Tilstra, check out From Afar podcast, and we will see you all. I guess you see me next Thursday playing some Ooblets. Or Thursday, not next Thursday, this Thursday. Next, you will see me on Thursday playing. And then not next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday, I'm doing back-to-back TTRPGs with the circus game. No, first Chalice and then the circus game. So wish me energy. Be kind to yourself. Be excellent to others. Thank you again for hanging out with us, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everybody. Love you all. Thank you.